Hi guys, I think it's time that we go out to the shop and we talk. We are going to have a little shop talk. Hey guys, welcome to Shop Talk. What Shop Talk is where we kind of take apart the scriptures, see how they were made, who they were talking to, why they were saying it, and see how that applies to us today. I really think that it's the way I operate in my shop. I don't know how to fix something until I know its intended use. I don't know how things work unless I take them apart. So that's what we're doing with Shop Talk. And, you know, Dixie's making me a great looking pour over here. I love sitting down with a cup of coffee and reading the scriptures. I love seeing what the Lord wants to reveal to me, and I think it's just such a blessing. So let's get ready for some Shop Talk. Hey guys, welcome to Shop Talk. Hey, today's going to be a little different. We're going to look at a book in the Bible that only has one chapter. So it's not one you probably hear a lot about, but I think you're going to enjoy it because I did, because you don't hear a lot about it. So that's what I love about the Bible. There's nothing that's in there by accident. Some really smart people, the Nicaeans, they studied, they were theologians, they were uber educated of their time, and they put the Bible together. And that they could tell what letters tied in with the other letters, and everything made sense. That way they negated kind of what people's translations may have infected, you know, because it was a story passed down. They did find some super old documentation that really kind of even proved that. The Dead Sea Scrolls. Google it. You'll enjoy it. But Philemon. So, first off, hey, I hope you're enjoying this trip through the Bible like I am. Go ahead, hit subscribe if you would. That way we know you're watching. And give us a like if you liked it, or a comment if you got a question or comment. So, Philemon was written by the Apostle Paul. Now, to set this up, he's writing to a guy in Colossae. Now, the book of Philemon, let me explain where it is in the Bible. It's in the New Testament, towards the back of the New Testament. Now, if your brain works anything like mine, you got your 1st and 2nd Thessalonians and your 1st and 2nd Timothy's. I can usually find those. Those are, you know, after the Gospels. They're like, oh. And so Philemon's there before you get to your 1st and 2nd Peter's and your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John's. So it's wedged in between Titus and Hebrews. Hebrews is a great book of the Bible. If you're looking for something to read that helps explain the Christian faith, Hebrews is awesome. It's explaining the Christian faith to the Jewish people, giving you a lot of information there to get to Philemon. Now, Philemon was a guy, like I said, he lived in Colossae. Paul, he was in jail, and this guy, Onesimus, he ran into, and he ministered to him. Paul shared the love of Christ with him, and Onesimus accepted Christ. The problem was, Onesimus was a slave of Philemon's. Now, the Bible does not promote slavery, does not agree with slavery. Every human being is worth the price of Jesus' blood. We're all worth the same, okay? You don't own another human being. Culturally, they had that back there. Now, Onesimus was from a country called the Byzantine Empire, okay? An empire back then, which is kind of where we have modern day Turkey. So he ended up selling himself, getting sold to, I don't know the story, we don't know the story, to a guy named Philemon. He got fed up and he left. Who knows, he may have grabbed as much money as he could and he headed out. So he runs into Paul, accepts Christ. Now, Paul doesn't just let it go there. And when you're reading Philemon, you'll see where Paul's like, hey, really would have been good. I really like this guy. He should hang out with me. But I'm going to send him back to you, Philemon, because Paul knew Philemon. And he knew that Philemon had also accepted Christ. So what I love about this book is it represents our life. And what Paul does, he follows the model of what Jesus did. Now, Onesimus, the Roman Empire said that runaway slaves could be stoned to death, all right? So this is a pretty serious, scary deal. Onesimus is going back to face, he doesn't know how this is going to go, but he knows it's the right thing to do because he wronged Philemon, okay? Not promoting slavery here, but you can look at it like your boss owns you for at least 8 hours a day. Philemon may have got some land and said, I'll work for you for 2-3 years. Whatever the situation was, I don't want to lose concept of what they're doing. Paul runs into him, shares Christ, Philemon becomes a Christian. Paul says, hey man, you're always going to have this hanging over your head. You're always going to be that runaway guy. I mean, if you get caught by the Romans, they figured out they may kill you before they even talk to Philemon. Let me send you back to Philemon and let me write this letter that you take with you. So, Onesimus is an awesome man of courage, okay? He's a really good guy after he got saved. And look at this like you have a job you absolutely hate, all right? So you grab all the pins and the staplers and everything you can and you run out of there thinking you deserve it because the guy was a jerk. It's really dumbing it down, but I'm trying to show you how things can relate, okay? So Paul sends this letter to Philemon with Onesimus. Verse 16 in Philemon, it's only got one chapter. Verse 16 says, is where Paul's describing how he wants Philemon to accept Onesimus. It says, no longer as a bondservant, but more than a bondservant, as a beloved brother. So, Onesimus and Philemon, their life has the same value. It's the blood of Jesus, right? They both accepted Jesus. So, Paul's doing a good job of reminding Onesimus of this. But now we don't know if he ran out with stuff, like I was saying, grabbed all the pins and the staplers. I know it's kind of a silly analogy, but he would have been right in it, okay? He'd justify himself. But he's coming back. And Paul says in verse 17, so if you consider me your partner, our relationship, we are both Christians trying to further the kingdom, receive him as you would receive me. Now, Onesimus, Philemon, and Paul, they're all on the same level playing field, right? Okay. And then in verse 19, this is where Paul looks like Jesus, right? He's following the model of Jesus. I, Paul, write this with my own hand, right? This isn't second and third hand information, somebody thinking I'm saying this. This is me, Paul, saying this. I will repay it to say nothing of your owing me, even your own self. Jesus paid the price for us. If you look at it, we're kind of like Onesimus. We are slaves to sin before we're saved. That sinful lifestyle will tear you up. It'll ruin relationships. You know what I'm talking about. I don't have to spell it out. But living a self-centered, selfish life and not caring about somebody else, you really are putting yourself into the slavery of sin because you can't stop until something breaks that cycle, until something pays the dues for all the wrongs you've done. Jesus came in and paid those. Jesus came in and said, God, I know they sinned, but I'm going to be the sacrifice. I'm going to ransom them. So you have Paul following the example of Christ. And how does that play out to us? Well, we have people that owe us things. We have been wronged by people. but we forgive them in the way that Christ forgave us. No, that's not being a doormat. That's not being used and abused. That's not being trampled on. But if there's somebody genuine that had a bad day, that was mean to us, somebody that used to be all about themselves, I have personally seen God restore people, change their countenance, make them people who give, people who love, and people who honestly are back on track with the purpose God had intended for them in the first place. So, Onesimus wasn't following, he wasn't completing God's purpose in his life because he was just on the run. You know, you can't be doing something good when you're just on the run, right? So, remember that. Verse 16, accept him no longer as the offender or the person you're angry at or the person you think you own or they owe you, but accept them like you would accept me, a beloved brother. So, I don't know if any of you have ever read Philemon. Again, it's right after Titus, which is again right after the 1st and 2nd Timothy's, which is right after the 1st and 2nd Thessalonians. I like those ones with when there's more than one letter to somebody and they go 1st and 2nd. I can find those easier, right? So, guys, I love you. I hope you're catching this. That Christ has called us not only to do the right thing, but he's empowering us to do the right thing. And he's providing for us to do the right thing. So, the Apostle Paul, this is a great example of our salvation. We're on the run. We're slaves to sin. And Jesus paid the price for our sin so that dreaded enemy has no hold on us. He has no authority to take us. He has no right in our life anymore because it's been washed clean and we can be in the presence of God. Right? So, guys, I love you. The takeaway this week is just looking for those situations where you can be Christ-like, where you can forgive, where it's right to forgive. And then part 2 of that is watching the Lord work. You may see a little softening in that person. You may not see something right away. But if you act like Christ around people, that will give them a chance to know Christ, even if they haven't read their Bible. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Philemon, guy named Onesimus, super cool name. Just sounds like such a name. And the guy was awesome. Turned his life around. And in Jewish history, Onesimus went on. He lived a life. He furthered the kingdom of God. In fact, the poor guy was martyred for his faith. So, be a Onesimus. Be a man of integrity. Don't let your past dictate your future. So, love you guys. Love the God you serve. And I can't wait to see how the Lord just kind of opens our eyes to this model of Christianity throughout the week. Take care now. Bye.